take him to Dairy Queen for ice cream. What does Bear do? He goes, he loses his mind. That's what I think was going on in Matt Canada's head every time he played a call to play. Huddle up, Steelers Nation. It's Tank and Mike for Steelers Chalk Talk. What a victory. But, I need a punter in the worst way. I need a punter. Now that I got that out of the way, how did you like that Steelers offensive performance yesterday?
It was good.
You didn't notice the punter stinks?
No, I did not. No, I actually thought, obviously the yards, told a new story. It's been, almost 2 years since they've reached over 400-plus yards.
58 games. I don't do math real well, Mike, but 18.
3 years? I don't know. Anyways, but no, my point is it was definitely more productive. Now it needs to translate into the points. It's got to get into the red zone production a little bit more. That's where you'll see the next step, the next level is, again, success in the red zone. There's too many field goals with Boswell. Obviously, you got a great kicker. But
Mike, do you know Boswell, since Canada's been here, I did the numbers on this. Boswell's put up like 381 points on his own in 3 seasons, and Matt Canada's offense put over about 800. Well, that's a disparity.
But again, obviously you saw the success with the yards yesterday, the little different play calling, a little bit more of a mixing up. I didn't notice any, I know the announcers, this is new, they've done this, they haven't done that.
You didn't notice Freiermuth get the middle of the field for 4 years, 3 years under Matt Canada. He acted like it was illegal to throw a football to the middle of the field.
But my point is it's not that the plays were not in that offense. They were there. I just don't think they were being called.
That's right.
And so, because here's the thing, you're not bringing in guys to bring in a whole new system.
Nope.
You're adding a few things. You're keeping the same terminology, but it's not like, hey, well, we're going to do this. We haven't done this ever before. No, it's probably been done. It's probably been practiced. You just haven't seen it in certain situations. Maybe they just hadn't busted it out yet. But I definitely noticed, I think the play calling in general is, it was a little bit more of a mix-up, a little bit different of attack. You could get, Freiermuth had a big game. I still think you could actually get him the ball even more.
And let me ask you, time out. Is he as good as Kittle and Kelsey?
Well, I don't know about Kelsey and Kittle. I mean,
so he's right there in the conversation.
I think he's in the conversation of a guy like the Sam Laporta up in Detroit. He can block. He can help you out in the passing game, especially with the weapons they have on the outside with George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. You're gonna, when they have success, it's going to open things up even more for him.
Yes.
And I think by force-feeding the ball to Pickens early in the game will help Freiermuth later in the game. But I think it's definitely, again, a young quarterback, they always say a young quarterback's best friend is the tight end. It is a weapon in the passing game. It's like a security blanket. You're attacking the middle of the field. You can get mismatches with a guy that has some good height, some good speed, and he's got good hands. So again, keep it mixed up. You got the yards going. Now attack in the red zone. Have a couple little wrinkles down there. I know most teams typically do. But again, that red zone production needs to go up, and a lot of time it comes up when the tight end gets the ball more.
Look, Matt Canada's gone, and I'm not going to berate the issue, but it is important to talk about the stark contrast. The Steelers have been in the bottom of the league. They are right now to 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 in all offensive categories. To me, what has been paramount, and keep in mind, Mike played at the pro level, quarterback, Lions, Eagles, etc., with some of the greatest names, Terrell Owens, in the game. And I'm going to throw this question to him. The worst stat over the last several years in Matt Canada's horrible offense was their third down conversion rate. 37%. Well, one of the worst in the league. You played the game at the highest level. Can you win championships not converting third downs?
Well, I sat in the meetings with, Steve Mariucci and Andy Reid, and they used to always, and I just remember it because it's been, just embedded into my brain. The number one stat that directly relates to wins and losses is the turnover battle. The second most important stat that directly affects wins and losses is third down conversion rate.
There is no doubt about it, and we didn't set this up before we started talking. If you know football, if you know offense, look, baby, the way you win games, other than turnovers and lucky interceptions, is third down conversions, 37%.
Well, here's
I think
the thing.
speaks testaments to how bad Canada's play calling was.
Well, again, and when you really break down the third down conversion rate, you have to go and do a full breakdown. What are your third down situations? Are you third and long more than you are third and 2? And so how do we get in that situation? Well, all right, well, let's get 4 yards on first down. Let's get 3 yards on second down, and now you're in third and short, and now your conversion rate goes up higher.
Mike, it wasn't even like any of those thoughts were in his head. It was like, you take his little dog Bear's with us today. You take him to Dairy Queen for ice cream. What does Bear do? He goes, he loses his mind. That's what I think was going on in Matt Canada's head every time he played a call to play.
I don't know. I'm not going to speculate.
Western Psych might have a field day with Matt Canada. Let's talk about your play caller. Anyway, he's gone. So what that translates to, yesterday against Cincinnati, we had a wonderful 8-7 with third down conversions, 15 of those through the passing game, 6 of those through the rushing game. Mike, with all the talent they have on offense, which they do at skill positions, they spread the ball around yesterday.
Yeah, and that's what most successful teams do. Obviously, you have your stud that you want to get the football, and I think that typically is your identity. Like a perfect example is you're going to look at the San Francisco 49ers. They want to get the ball to Christian McCaffrey. Whether it be out of the backfield, whether it be spreading him out and getting him involved in the passing game, he is the guy that's going to touch the ball the most. However, you've got Debo, you've got Brandon Ayuk, you've got George Kittle, and you know these names because they touch the ball enough. Look at another guy, one of the hot offensive coordinator's names in the game right now is Ben Johnson up in Detroit. You've got David Montgomery, you've got Gibbs, the 2 running backs, the 2-headed monster that kind of goes back and forth. You got Amon St. Brown, the possession receiver. You got Sam Laporta. Why do you know these names? Because they are creative in getting the ball around and getting everyone to touch it. You don't have to touch it, 10 times a game, but you can get the ball. I think Pickens is a guy that needs at least 6, 7, 8 targets a game. I think I would target him more than Johnson.
He's a much better wide receiver.
I think by doing that, it actually opens Johnson up even more, and he can kind of slide into that Juju Smith-Schuster role when Antonio Brown was here. However, I do think you need to try to force feed Pickens the ball a little bit more. I love what they did with Najee Harris, a little 1-2 punch with both running backs. All of a sudden, Jalen Warren wasn't the stud this week, and all of a sudden Najee Harris isn't washed up. They put him in different situations as opposed to just pounding his head up the middle, first and 10, second and 10. Like, mix it up a little bit. Throw the ball on first down.
You mean be a good offensive coordinator?
Just have a little bit of, diversity in your offense.
One of the things Mike touched on there was the 49ers, obviously the creme de la creme this year in the NFL.
Well, I think, excuse me, but I think you got to look at this. The NFC this year seems a little bit more dominant than the AFC. You got the Eagles, you've got the Niners, heck, you've got the Lions who are doing some great things. I mean, they are kind of stacked across the board right now. Again, you have the Dolphins, you have the Chiefs, but in the Ravens, but no one's really fully, in the AFC taking over the way the Eagles and the Niners are starting to in the NFC.
Circle it on your calendars. January 7th, our Steelers go down to Baltimore to play the Ravens. We can conceivably be 10-4 going into Baltimore to play them. I think they're going to win the division. I don't think they're going to stumble unless their quarterback falters. We go down there. We got a great scenario for the wild card. But I want to go back to something you just touched upon about 49ers again, how well balanced they are getting the ball around. Talking about what this offense is going to do now that Matt Canada is going. Let's talk about these skill positions, Mike, okay? You do have two outstanding running backs now to work with, and we saw that in tandem yesterday. You now have Freiermuth back in the mix, and you do have hands with Hayward. They got the ball around. Talking about an abundance of skilled players, I agree with you. George Pickens is, in my opinion, he's twice the receiver of Deontay. He'll catch anything you have. If you look at that myriad of skilled positions they have, whether you were at the Eagles or Lions, how would you like to have all those guys to play with?
Well, yeah, obviously you got a guy that stretches the field, you got your possession guy, but again, the one thing, going back to my Philly days with Andy Reid and Terrell Owens, and it was Saturday mornings, we're sitting there going over the offensive game plan, and okay, these first 5 plays, we've got to get T.O. touching the ball 3 times, 4 times. We got to get him involved early, and it's not, they're going to just drop back and throw it up. It's getting creative in finding ways to get him open in space. Maybe a little bit of a pick play, a little bit of a rub route, maybe some window dressing with some shifts and formations, adjustments where all of a sudden he's lined up inside as opposed to always being outside and getting a mismatch that way, and allowing him to work the entire field as opposed to from
down the sidelines and over the shoulder.
From the numbers to the sidelines.
Thank you for bringing that up. The creativity that they used with T.O. in Philadelphia. My God, if I never see another jet sweep in Pittsburgh for 100 years, I'll be happy. I'll start there. But the very fact that Matt Canada get out of town on a bus, all he knew to do with Pickens was down over the shoulder with a 50-50 ball. Now, I love what Sullivan's doing, going over, talking to these guys during the game in Cincinnati yesterday. You can run Pickens out of the slot, run him to the post, run him to the out. You have the ability to use George Pickens because he will catch anything at anywhere on the field, which opens up the possibilities to do what then?
Well, here's the thing. You look at Matt Canada, and he's extremely successful.
Where?
In the college ranks.
No, he wasn't.
Wait.
Do you know that?
So,
The only time he was successful was over at Pitt.
Okay, but I think
they ran him out of town on a rail every place else.
And so what I'm saying though is here's the thing. College football and high school football are more similar than college football and NFL football is, okay?
Yes.
His offense is a good offense for college and high school. And
he ain't never going to get a job ever again after what happened in Cincinnati. Who the hell would hire him? The Sisters of the Poor in St. Augustine?
Here's the thing. But you're missing the point.
Oh.
In college offenses, the receivers will line up because they like to do the fast pace. The hashes are wider. The one receiver's always into the boundary. It's a tall receiver. He's an X receiver. You don't move them around as much. What do? They line up, they look at the defense, and then they all look to the sideline and get the signals in. Okay, so that's what Canada is used to doing. In the NFL, you huddle up, okay? You actually call plays with a kill or an alert or a trash can the play, and the quarterback makes a decision, but they move, they shift, they motion, they move guys around to get their studs, the running back McCaffrey, the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, even the Lions with they got the double-headed monster. Again, Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. But then you got Amon St. Brown who gets force-fed the football. They don't just line them up in one spot and say, go win. No, they motion them, they move them.
Strategery.
Yes, but what I'm saying is I think Canada's offense, he's been playing in the college game too much, and you can't do that. In the NFL, you have to call plays.
Obviously, you can't do that. You're 28th and 30th in the league.
You have to be creative. You have to be creative, and you have to allow your players to make plays. You have to allow them to go out there and win one-on-one matchups, but not line up in the same spot every single time, because you're the offense. You have to use it to your advantage. The defense doesn't know what you're going to do. They don't know where you're going to line up, and it's the same thing with a snap count. They don't know what you're going on. Here, my suggestion, weeks ago, people were asking me, I said the best thing that could happen for the city of Pittsburgh, college and NFL, is Frank Cignetti Jr. take his offense from the from the Panthers and go to the Steelers. In Canada, go to the Panthers, and they switch.
No, I want Matt Canada out of Pittsburgh. I got to have Canada out of Pittsburgh.
But I think Cignetti is a better NFL guy.
They got pro football in Canada,
and Cignetti's out at the Panthers now. He's gone, but I think he is an NFL guy. He is underneath a Mike McCarthy, a Ben Mack. He is an NFL offense, and I think that switch would have paid dividends for both teams. Now, again, they're both gone. Canada's out, and now, the Panthers just announced Cignetti's not coming back. However, but what my point is you had a college guy coaching in the NFL, and you had an NFL guy coaching in college. And there is differences into that offense. You have to be able, that's why you don't see Saban being successful in the NFL. You don't see, Greg Schiano, struggle in the NFL. You don't see the success from college guys going to the NFL as much.
No.
It just doesn't happen. It's a different game.
Just like players.
And that's why NFL guys don't necessarily have the success that they do in college that they did in the NFL.
Love it. I love the analysis. So let's talk more about, now that the Matt Canada era, and I mean like error, error is over and done. Talking about the weapons that we have. Now, in my opinion, if you took these weapons and gave them to Shanahan in San Francisco, he'd make soup with them. This is a good core of skill players that they have. The offensive line, since Broderick Jones has gone to right tackle, has gotten better. They're playing better. They can do a lot better on pass blocking, no doubt about this. What's the future in 2023 with this team? How much of it depends on the new OCs? And the big question I'm going to throw to you, big boy, how much of it depends on Kenny Pickett? Is he a game manager, or do we expect superstar things, Ben Roethlisberger caliber from him?
Well,
a lot of questions there.
So the first thing about Kenny Pickett, I think he is very similar to a Brock Purdy in San Francisco. I don't think Brock Purdy, is this superior athlete that can run around. Obviously, he was Mr. Irrelevant in the draft. Obviously, he's a smart guy. I think Pickett can be a smart guy. I think he needs some help in quarterback development and seeing the game. It's only his second year, but I think here's the issue with your going forward as offensive coordinator. Do you bring in someone new? Personally, I do think a new, young, creative offensive mind would be beneficial for the Steelers. And you look at Shanahan, you look at the Ben Johnson from the Lions, you look at McDaniels down in Miami, and what these guys are doing.
McDaniels learned the game playing video games. The kid, I don't even think played football.
And then you look at the older guys that are successful. Andy Reid, but what does he do? He goes back and watches films from the 1950s.
He's got
experience. But he's not afraid of change. He is going back, looking at the old films to get new ideas, because the game is constantly evolving, but you can go back and grab ideas. So I think that is beneficial. However, at the same time, your second-year quarterback in his third year is going to be switching to a whole new offense. Now, I know he's been in the same system the last 2 years.
What system?
Do you want to switch it?
What system?
Do you want to change and have him have to learn all that new terminology again?
Yeah.
Or do you want to keep the same terminology and see what these guys can do? My gut tells me that they will promote within, and they will do what they're going to do this season. That's they're to promote the running backs coach up. Sullivan will be the play caller. They'll kind of have like a dual co-OC type situation. I don't think that's the best way, but it has its benefits where you're not changing terminology for your young quarterback and going into his third season. You have to look. At the same time, how long does that experiment go? I think you really have to look at the rest of the season and really, really dive into the stats, the numbers, and where are they productive or not. Allow them the freedom to get creative this year, so you have a little taste test of what next year could be, and then as a coach, as a head coach, or as a general manager, be like, I don't like the direction this is going. or I do. So I think the rest of the season will tell. You don't have to make that decision right now, but I think the rest of the season you will get a good. I think the firing of Canada now gives you that good opportunity to gauge where you guys could be at next year underneath what they're doing right now. And then will they need to go out and find a new guy, or will they, continue with what they have? If it's productive enough, yeah, let's get. Hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If they're productive, but if it's the same thing, it's just 1 week. They're going against the Bengals, not the greatest defense. No Joe Burrow. Was that a good? Listen, one game does not give you enough. You need a 4, 5, 6 game sample size to truly see where you guys are and what you guys can do.
Well, one thing is for certain. We beat the Cincinnati Kitty Cats in Cincinnati. Now we're on the way to take on the Cardinals of Arizona and hopefully put up more than 400 yards a game. All right, I'm Tank. He's Mike. We're out.